welcome to Teaching Copyright and Fair Use. CNC, short for Copywriting Creativity, is now on the Alludo platform, which is very exciting. And this is another webinar in our Alludo PD Innovation Series. So welcome, everybody. I want to just thank you all for coming. I think this webinar is going to be really informational, helpful, and hopefully fun. Copyright is becoming an essential element of digital literacy. As David has said before, everyone is a publisher now. Everybody, has a phone or any way to publish at a moment's notice. And so it's more important than ever. If you guys have questions, please drop them in the chat. We will definitely be monitoring and make sure that we get those questions asked. So please do that. So let me go ahead and introduce the panelists. We have David Sohn, Director of Copyright and Creativity, and that is, for those of you who don't know, a free resource for teaching copyright and fair use. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
We also have Dana Greenspan, Educational Technology Consultant. Dana, do you want to just quickly just tell us what that involves?
Right, so I help educators implement different types of technologies. And so I'm retired now and I'm working specifically with copyright and creativity on the curricular rollout. So training state ambassadors and coordinating our conference attendance and webinars, things like that.
Great, thank you. And Jennifer Roth, who is a K-6 librarian in southeastern Pennsylvania, and you are at the North Wales Elementary, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, welcome. And then on the Alludo side, we have Julia Francis, and she is our VP of Customer Success. And Julia, do you want to just, for those of us that don't know Alludo, do you want to just touch on what your role is with customers?
Sure. So I've been with Alludo, the Alludo family, for about 4 years now, and we've grown quite a bit. So it used to be just a handful of us, and now we have a customer success team. So that involves business development, engagement management, project management for all of our districts as they're launching their professional development programs.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, let's get started. David, do you want to kick it off and tell us more about copyright and creativity?
Sure, let me do that. Let me see if I can pull up some slides first.
Great.
Oh, hold on, it's doing that again. 1 sec. And all right, you guys, can you see the slides full screen?
Yes.
Good. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about copyright and creativity. We call it CNC for short. We're a nonprofit project, and our focus is providing resources to educate students about copyright and fair use. We have a website. This is an excerpt of our website, and what you'll see there is that we offer from our website really a full suite of resources in 4 different levels. There's elementary school, there's middle school, there's high school, and then there's professional development for teachers. And at those different levels, we have lessons that include lesson plans, slides, infographics, and videos. And I want to highlight the videos in particular because one of the things we know, one thing that makes copyright sometimes difficult for some teachers to teach is that parts of it can feel like kind of a technical legal subject, and some of the teachers themselves may feel like it's not their core area of expertise. So what we tried to do with the videos is really make it easy for the teachers to have ways that they can teach some of the more legally focused parts of this topic, make it easy to bring that to students, even if the teachers themselves don't feel like they're experts in copyright law. If you go to our website, you'll see that there are different pages for different levels. This is an example. This is the high school curriculum page. We have, again, if you page around the website, in addition to the lessons themselves, you'll find a variety of supplemental materials, and there's different ways to access the lessons. You can do it through slides, you can do Google Drive. It's a good range of resources all available there on the website. So the focus for today, though, is professional development. And in particular, what's new is that while we continue to have our original professional development offering available on Canvas, and that's available for free to anyone, you don't need, your district doesn't need to be a Canvas district. We now also have a new offering through Alludo, which is a new CNC game. That's what they call courses on the Alludo platform. And that gives teachers who have access to Alludo a way to learn all of these concepts in really bite-sized micro-learning activities. And I'll talk a little bit more a little later about what but before I do that, let me go into a little bit first about why it would be important to teach copyright. So not that long ago, copyright really was viewed as a kind of esoteric legal subject. It was something that librarians knew about, but beyond that, it was really kind of the province of professionals and lawyers in what we sometimes call the creative industries, industries like publishing, movie studios, record labels. Those folks needed to know a lot about copyright, and it was really a professional topic for them, but not something that the general population would feel like they need to know about. But technology has really changed all that. Today, we all carry what is essentially a printing press in our pockets in the form of our digital devices. We also all have the easy means to make movies and music and images in ways that not that long ago, it would have required a lot of professional equipment to do. Now we can all do it easily every day. Add to that, we all have access to a worldwide distribution network. That's what the internet is. So when we do create things, we can share it with the entire world. And the result is that kids are really interacting with and creating and distributing media every day. That's true at school. If you think about project-based learning and the kind of projects and media that kids create in school, and it's certainly true in their home and social lives as well. So given that kids are doing all that, having some basic understanding of copyright really becomes a basic life skill of the digital age. It's just a key element of digital citizenship, the same way privacy and cybersecurity would be. It's something people just need to know a little bit about. And yet, while that's true, the current status quo is really that the basic rules of the road aren't very well understood by the general population. And unfortunately, they're also not really obvious. Copyright can be complex, so it isn't just common sense. So our experience is that teachers are really hungry for information to help clarify this area for students, and in many cases, for themselves as well. So in light of all that, we have seen standards groups in recent years say that kids do need to learn about copyright. There are a variety of standards groups that either mention intellectual property or often more specifically copyright and fair use, with higher levels of understanding expected as kids get older, but recognizing that it's part of modern digital literacy, excuse me. The other thing that can be important for people who may be administrators in school districts is just to realize that ignorance about copyright can be costly. There are school districts that have gotten in trouble when there's widespread non-compliance, and there are districts that have faced large fines for violations because the financial penalties for copyright can be quite significant. I've attached here just a headline from a case that happened a couple of years ago in Texas, where the Houston school district faced a large fine. I think they ended up settling for something like $7 million, but that's still a pretty substantial hit for a district to take. So it really does behoove a school district to have its educators as well as its students understand the basic ground rules so they don't go too far astray. So let me talk a little bit about CNC, both what we are and what we are not as far as the educational curriculum and resources we provide. The first thing, we were very careful in setting this up to avoid trying to just be kind of a propaganda outfit for any particular side in copyright debates that are still going on between copyright-based industries and critics of copyright-based industries. We weren't interested in getting into the policy or legal debates. So what we did was in crafting our resources, we set up a process where we got input from stakeholders with a wide range of views. So we won't just, so we had people involved in the copyright industry. We had academics that had user or consumer focus, and we really tried to be sensitive to a wide range of viewpoints. And the basics, we didn't really get into the hot topics where there are areas of law that are unsettled and that there are live debates about. After all, this isn't a law school course. We thought if we stick to the basics, we can really give people a basic grounding in the landscape of US copyright law without getting into areas that are controversial. And we can do it in a balanced way, which means you'll see if you go through our materials, we cover copyright's protections, but we also cover its limitations and exceptions. Because certainly, if there's anyone on this call who's a librarian, librarians are very familiar with this. Copyright, it offers a lot of protections, but it also has some important and flexible exceptions. And you can't really understand copyright unless you understand the exceptions as well. The other thing that we wanted to avoid doing in setting up our resources was to teach copyright as just a bunch of preachy thou shalt nots. Don't be a pirate, for example. We didn't want kids coming away from these resources perceiving copyright as just a set of negative rules that restrict their freedom for the benefit of big media companies. Because of that, I think what you'll see, if you look through our resources, is we don't overemphasize the role of penalties. As I mentioned a moment ago, the financial penalties can be stiff, but again, we really didn't want the focus of what we're teaching kids to be, you can get in big trouble. So what do we do instead of that? We try to take a balanced approach where we explain what copyright allows and empowers, not just what it prohibits. So we explain things like fair use. We talk about how copyright promotes creativity.
David,
And, yeah.
You're breaking up quite a bit. Can you turn your video off? Bottom left.
Yeah. Hold on.
Oh, maybe it's not.
No.
Aaron, can you turn David's video off?
Sure.
Sorry, it's different when you've got your screen share on.
Yeah, it is. Can you hear me okay now, or am I still sketchy?
Yeah, that's good. And Aaron can do it.
Okay. Was there a particular part that didn't come through? Is there something I need to?
No, I think we're
need to
okay.
repeat, or do you think people have got it?
I think we're good.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Good. All right. So as I was saying, the idea is to approach copyright in a positive way, and really, above all, to get kids to understand the rationale for copyright, understanding why we have it, what purpose does it serve? Really, it's there to promote creativity, and we want kids to understand that. And we thought that really the best way to get kids to focus on that is to emphasize kids' own roles as creators. We want to get them thinking about the works that they create, or the works that they might create someday, and to try to look at copyright from that perspective. That helps correct a misconception that kids often have, which is that copyright is just for big commercial creators, not someone like me. And in fact, when we did an evaluation of our middle school curriculum a couple years ago, looking at kids who had gone through the curriculum, really the one area that stood out as really being the biggest reversal in kids' attitudes was a lot of them did come into it thinking that copyright was just something for big commercial enterprises and had nothing to do with them. And they came out of it realizing that no, their stuff is protected by copyright too. And in fact, they're copyright holders. And we think that when kids are thinking in that frame of mind, it really changes the way they think about it. The other thing that we try to do throughout our resources is provide information that is practical. So we try to think about the copyright related activities that kids regularly engage in. Things like trying to acquire media, trying to share media with their friends, and then an important one, incorporating other people's work into their own creations. So we spend a lot of time on fair use and on things like the public domain and Creative Commons, and have some activities where kids practice relying on fair use, the public domain and Creative Commons to find content for their own creative projects. So going to C&C's, hold on, the slide's a little different than, yeah, just going to C&C's game on Alludo, because that's the focus of today's webinar. So what we really did here was we took the content that I've talked about with the kind of approach that I've gone through, and we tried to put it into the kind of format that Alludo uses. And Alludo's kind of core approach is to break learning down into bite-sized chunks, what they call learning activities, and to gamify it. And so we've done that with this new game on Alludo. There are 3 levels, as you can see there: copyright basics, which really introduces the purpose and the structure of copyright's protections. And then we've got fair use and limitations, which means going over all the things that copyright doesn't cover, and the important principle of fair use, of course. And then we've got our level 3 is copyright in action, which shows how these copyright principles that you will have learned in levels 1 and 2, how they function in the real world, including the kind of practical questions like how to acquire and share media lawfully, how to use other people's work in your own creations or your own teaching, and also the relationship between copyright and plagiarism, and some other just practical real world issues that come up. So that's how it's organized. But in our Alludo game, under each of these levels, there are a bunch of different missions, and those are divided further into different activities. And so each activity is really just a 5 to 15-minute section. Here's an example of one. You see here, activity 2, what's covered by copyright. And so we have the users doing a little drawing and then emphasizing to them that they've actually created a copyrighted work. And there's a video clip that will explain that concept a little more. So I'm going to stop there and turn it over, I think at this point, to Jen. Is that right?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. All right, is everyone able to see this? Okay, perfect. So we're going to jump into why copywriting creativity. So as Aaron mentioned earlier, I am an elementary librarian serving K to 6. And so I am in the field doing this every single day. So the real question is, why use copywriting creativity resources? And so as I was looking for options, there seems to be a limited number of resources. Any resources that I did find on anything about copyright, fair use, Creative Commons, it was all for the older level. It was more geared towards middle school, high school, college. Well, it's important to start building these foundations at a young age. And so copywriting creativity, when I came upon them, they had lesson plans for kindergarten. So again, just building that foundation at a young age is very important. The other reason that I love copywriting creativity lessons are they're ready to go. So you can get them in 2 different formats. They are in PDF format. They are in a Google slide format. The best part about it is that the PDF format gives you everything. It has the objective, materials needed, the purpose of a lesson, activity, script, everything that you need to say. I think that a lot of educators are worried or scared to talk about copyright, or they're scared to teach it because they're very unfamiliar about it themselves. There's a lot of gray area. And so there's wrap-up questions, which you can use as an exit ticket or an assessment. There's a personalized letter, as you can see from the slide right here, already ready to go. You can just put your name on it, and it just explains the activity or the lesson that you did for that day. And so every key concept you need when making a lesson plan, it's already there for you so that you can just print and go. The videos on the lower level are animated with no narrations, which in my opinion provide the opportunity for students to think at a higher level. The animations are short and to the point. They're highly relatable. My students enjoyed them. As an educator with limited free time during my school day, it was really nice to have these lessons ready to go. And of course, the best part is they are free. We just ask for attribution. And to echo what David said earlier, I mean, the positivity that comes out of these lessons is unreal. The lessons are always focusing on what copywriting allows. It empowers my students to become their own creators. A lot of time we talk about in school about don't do this, don't do that. We talk about plagiarism, we talked about what not to do. And I feel that these lessons really bring out of you are the creators, you know, what rights you have for your own work, even if it's just a doodle on a napkin, which if you go through the Alludo, presentation for the Alludo, there is the David explaining about the doodle on the napkin. So the real question is when, where, how do I bring this in? How do I bring this into my classroom? How do I use these resources? How do I use these lesson plans? And so one of the lessons that I do is called Respect the Person. And I do this as a standalone lesson at the beginning of the school year for kindergarten and first grade. And it's asking you about, you know, the importance of being your own creator. If you think about it, if you're also an educator, what is the number one thing students forget to put on their paper? Yes, you are correct. It is their name. So this lesson is very fun. It's interactive. I always receive positive feedback from teachers that after this lesson, that students rarely forget to put their name on their paper and they are quick to claim their work when the teacher goes, whose is this? The next one that I align with a project is Creativity in the Online World, which talks about our roles as creators and consumers. I like to share the video that goes with it, What's Up with Copyright Anyway, which is a brief history and copyright basics. I like to play this right after we've already researched a topic. As the video is playing, I can see the wheels turning in my students' minds, the look on their faces. They're pondering away, thinking about all the information that they are receiving from the video. The video opens up discussion questions as to, well, what does this mean to me when I'm trying to apply the facts we learned from our research topic to my final project? If I'm going to do a video or a Google slide or a presentation or a website, or wait, how we present our final project will decide where we can get the resources and media to create it. Again, this lesson provided endless discussions guided by your students. They were the ones who were asking the questions. And then I also broke them up into groups. Sometimes we discussed it as a whole class, but either way, it was really nice to hear them elaborate on their thoughts. And it was a way for me to assess how much they comprehend the topic of copyright, fair use, the public domain, and not just giving you facts about it. And we always talk about the facts of copyright and the facts of public domain, but to really hear them putting it together, collaborating with their classmates was just, it's like, yes, they understand this. They really comprehend what they just learned or what I just taught them. And then the next lesson that I do after that is creating new content for using others' work. So this was like, wait, the number one question from the previous lesson was, well, where am I getting my images, my audio, my music, the content for my project without violating copyright? Especially if, you know, nowadays I want to share my project on social media. I want to share with my friends. I want it to be online for everyone to see. I want to be proud of my work. Well, this video reviews the rights of the creator, what public domain is, and then shares websites students can access to find images, music, and more that are in the public domain or have a Creative Commons license. So my students have highly benefit from receiving these lessons right before or when we are about to apply the concept in our everyday learning experience. And it also works well with teachers as well, because sometimes it's nice to have that reminder of, well, what can I use when I'm presenting? And of course, a lot of it falls under fair use, but once you start sharing it on social media and other platforms, then it changes it a little bit. The next part is just talking about my student reactions. I think after a lesson, I love to reflect on, okay, what could I have changed? Or, you know, depending on what my students' reactions were, is what can this look differently? And one of the first video is talking about, you know, claiming their own work, get credit for it, but also you need to give credit to others. And one of the students says, I'm never forgetting to put my name on my paper again. And if you teach elementary, I mean, it's like this cute little voice, like, I'm never forgetting to put my name on my paper again. And so again, they understood that they are the creator and that is their own work. The next one is a student is talking to their friend, and she's asking him if she can use his picture on a t-shirt that she wants to make. The boy says yes, and the girl creates a t-shirt with his design. Then she gave him credit when everybody was like, hey, I love your t-shirt. And she was like, oh, thanks. But my friend made the design that went on it. So the comment to that, my first grader said, it would be cool if my friend took the picture I drew and put it on a t-shirt, but only if they told everyone it was my picture, because I'd be really mad if they like did not tell everyone it was my picture and just said, thanks for the cool t-shirt. And then the other one, which was third grade, Sharing Fairly, is talking about a boy is selling his pictures that he's created for 25 cents. The girl shows her friend, and then her friend takes a picture of the design that she just bought from the boy on her phone. She sends it out to all of her friends. So now instead of anyone buying this little boy's picture, they are all sharing the image electronically. And a third grader said, I would be mad if someone took the picture I made and did something with it without asking me first, especially if they're going to make money off of my picture or they're sharing it with other people. And then we get into the older grades. So that was my K-3 students. And then here is my 4 to 6 students' reactions. This really shocked me. They were surprised by how everything they had created, such as their artwork, their stories, and more, have been copyrighted. They want to know if teachers legally have to ask their permission before sharing their work. If almost everything is covered by copyright, where do we find pictures for our projects? The introduction video and other videos we watched really sparked their interest in wanting to know more, which was the whole point. And here's a 5th grader said, I didn't realize I had so much power over everything I created. That was mind-blowing. Again, we always tell them about what not to do. You shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And you have to give credit where credit is due, but they didn't realize how much power they had over everything they created. A 6th grader, I really like the fact that I can create anything I want and people have to ask my permission to use it or share it with others. I don't know about you, but I have a lot of friends, a lot of students who have their YouTube channels. You know, they're making their videos on TikTok. And so this was really nice to have these kind of conversations with them. Doesn't this mean teachers should be asking me to use my creative work on their website or with the class? That's a great discussion starter. I've had that conversation with my students already. And yeah, it's definitely gets them, again, talking about it, thinking about it. Again, it's a great discussion starter. And then the last one that I have there is, if almost everything is covered by copyright, what are we allowed to use? And again, we have those lessons that do discuss the fact of, well, what can I use? What does fair use look like? Public domain, Creative Commons, all of those concepts together. So in conclusion, in my opinion, as an educator in the field every day, the lessons are relatable. The students really enjoy them. They're ready to go in a variety of settings. So again, get on there, print them out, and they're ready to go. And they are completely free with extra resources if you ever need them. And we are always here for you. If you have ever questions, you can always reach out. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jen. That was really great. So David, actually, we're gonna go to Alludo, Julia. Let's talk about Alludo now and how CNC is on Alludo and what that means.
Thanks, Erin. And thanks, Jen, for sharing all of that information. That was awesome. I think about what sixth grader doesn't like to be asked permission to do anything, to get his or her permission. That's really fun. And I also want to thank all of the copyright and creativity folks here for the work that they've done and for the contribution that you've made, not only as a nonprofit, but by sharing your content and spending the time to put it into Alludo. So for Wi-Fi sake, I'm going to turn my video off while I'm sharing slides because it's known to get a little bit muddled. Definitely let me know if not. And Damon commented to the audience, but just wanted to reinforce any questions that you have, be sure and put it in the chat and we'll make sure and leave time for that. I'm going to share my screen, and what I'm going to do is introduce those of you that aren't familiar with Alludo to Alludo, what our platform is and what we do. And then I'm going to jump right into the course or game, as we refer to it, on our platform that CNC has created. So you can see it for yourselves live and in action. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. Good, okay. So Alludo is a learning platform. It is a platform that allows districts, schools, organizations to build any type of learning content on the platform to develop and design a unique personalized learning experience for their teachers, their staff. We even have districts that are using Alludo with their students. We developed the product about 4 years ago in collaboration with a school district in California. And after building out the application for that school district, we had a lot of neighboring districts that said, we have similar needs to this other district. Could we also use this product? And at the time, it was, again, just one application that we then scaled to the product it is today. During that journey, we learned a lot from our school districts, and it's helped us become the platform that we have today. These core things that you see here, flexibility, responsiveness, engaging, and being able to measure effectiveness are kind of the core features, if you will, of how we've developed a learner-centered approach to professional development. Flexibility means we have a platform that allows organizations to scale. And when we say scale, it's not just the quantity, how many people need to use the platform, but it's more importantly, different levels of learners. We do that with an unlimited content platform. You can put as much content on it as you want. And then when we get into the CNC game, we'll show you we have different levels of learning. So you could start out with introductory topics at the beginning levels and then go more advanced as you go. When it comes to engaging, when you see the platform, you'll see it's a little bit different in that there's gamification. So you have some fun competition. You can personalize it. So you have a brand, a theme, badging, and design that looks like your program. And then we also have a incentive storefront. We don't have that in place right now for the CNC program, but we do have an ability for districts to reward players, users as they're achieving and learning at the same time. Alludo also provides a very responsive platform so that you can respond to changes. You've seen obviously a lot of changes this year in how you can update your content, as well as how do you leverage content from others. So that's where we're going to take you into the catalog. And specifically, if you're already licensed with Alludo, we're going to share with you tonight how you can go in and pull from the catalog the CNC content that's been created, and then how you can leverage these micro learning activities, short bite-sized activities to help you as a learner. Lastly, and we won't go into a lot of detail about it tonight, but we do have a very in-depth reporting engine within Alludo that allows districts, leadership, and educators really see the usage of the platform, where learners are doing well, maybe where they need some more help, and overall, how is your program doing from a learning perspective? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to jump into the demo. And by the way, I'm sharing this link down here on the slide. It's alludolearning.com/demo. Anyone that's interested in joining and joining in live while I'm walking through this is more than welcome to join. I'm going to go ahead and click into it, and it's going to take you to this demo page on our website. We have a few different demo games, but of course tonight what we're going to focus on this afternoon is copyright and creativity. So to get into this course, you just click on the badge. And for those of you that have never played in Alludo, it will ask you to set up your profile just one time. And I'll show you what that looks like for those of you that want to jump in. You're going to get to this edit profile area, and it's just going to ask you what your school is. Because we have people from all over the country that are in playing our demo games, instead of schools, we actually have a state. I'm in Colorado. So pick whatever your state is, and then just go down to the very bottom and click update. And then that should get you to this view right here. This is our dashboard. As I mentioned, one thing that Alludo does a little differently is we bring in gamification and competition. This is a leaderboard, so you can see across schools how many people are playing or who the top school is. In this case, the state is Pennsylvania. I have a sneaky suspicion that Jen is from Pennsylvania because she's been playing the game a lot. And then down below, in this case, it's states, top players. Here is the player leaderboard as well. As people are completing activities in the course, over here, you're going to see just a running list of achievements as they are getting completed and approved. So to get into the CNC game, you can click this play bar, the green bar, or my game, and it's going to take you to your game board. So within Alludo, we have levels. David talked about that quite a bit. We start out with these copyright basics, and then we go into fair use, and then copyright in action. Within each level, we have missions. In this case, introduction to teaching copyright, and the basics of copyright protection are our first two missions with activities underneath. So you have a point value. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. You have a point value that you want to achieve to get your badge. Here, in this case, in the first mission, it's 70 points. In the next mission, it's 75. Once I achieve my point values in each mission, the introduction and basics, I will then achieve my level badge, which in this case is copyright basics. To complete an activity in Alludo and in the CNC course, you're going to click on the title next to the play symbol. You're going to see an overview here, title, point value, estimated time to complete. And then here's the intro information, followed by or including any resources that you might need. So what you want to do is read through the topic area, tap into any resources. As Jen mentioned, there's videos, there's images and what have you, and then there's links. And then down below, it's going to ask you to record your achievement. This is how, as a learner, you're going to receive your points. So in this case, they want you to watch a short video and then click on Why Teach Copyright tab and read through the associated page. So once you've done those activities, you have two pieces of evidence that you need to supply. One is a screenshot of the Why Teach Copyright page, and then next is a short reflection, 2 to 4 sentences on what you think CNC means when it says everyone is a publisher now. So as a learner, I would go to the home page. I would go ahead and take my screenshot as my evidence. Oops, sorry. And then upload that evidence right there, and then respond with my 2 to 4 sentences. Take just a minute to load. Once it loads, I'm going to get a little green check mark and record it. So that's what it looks like to play. As a player, I go in and I submit that evidence, and notice how my play symbol has now turned to this yellow clock. That means I'm now awaiting approval. There is someone who on the back end goes in and reviews your evidence. In this case, I'm excited to say that the CNC team is going to be part of that review process, which is wonderful because not only can they review your evidence to say, yes, this is correct, or no, you're almost there, but you need to add a little bit more. They can also interact through the Alludo platform with you, comment, provide suggestions, answer any questions you have. And then as you are earning your points, I mentioned you're going to earn badges. Within the Alludo platform, you can have what we call digital or open badges. So as you're earning badges, those badges can be downloaded in a digital format. So if you have Badger or Mozilla, Credly, some type of badge storage container, you can take those badges with you in the future. Any questions so far on how you get in and play the game? Is anybody trying to get in, having any challenges that we can help with before I show the catalog side? No? Okay, so now for those of you that are Alludo customers, you are familiar, I'm sure, with our catalog. For those of you that aren't familiar with Alludo, when I talk about building a course or a game, we like to have these short bite-sized micro-learning activities. In the case of CNC, they have built out all of these micro-learning activities for our customers to go in and leverage within our catalog. So you go to Admin Catalog, Alludo Learning, and here you're going to see Copyright and Creativity. Within the catalog, you can go in and you can copy the entire game. You can copy it level by level, or you can copy activity by activity. I'll definitely defer to David and Sally and Jen and Dana on this, but from what I understand with the curriculum and the content, it really does best to go in and pull in all of the material so that your teachers, your learners can see it comprehensively all in one place, rather than some of our other Alludo catalog material. You could pick one activity or pick another activity and just pull a couple in. In this case, we recommend if you can and would like to pull all of this in as its own standalone course, or potentially within your digital citizenship pathways within your existing games. That is all I have on the demo side. It's really easy to get the content into your current Alludo program if you're licensed with us. If you are not licensed with Alludo and you are interested, a couple things you can do is you can go up here to our website. In the top right corner, there's a Get a Demo button, and it'll get you to this page here. Down below, we have a form where you can fill out information that will be kind of a contact us, and then we can be in touch with you and show you how to get started with Alludo.
Thank you so much, Julia. That was really informative. We want to open it up to questions. I think that there's a lot of information here, a lot of questions probably across, what can I play? What's the difference between getting the information on CNC versus Alludo? Do I have to be an Alludo client and things like that? So I'm going to open it up. If anybody wants to chat or ask questions, you can raise your hand. You can put a comment, and I will make sure that you can turn your mic on. But maybe David, do you want to talk about sort of why CNC is on Alludo?
Hey, we had a question from Keith in the Q&A, and he asked, what about content that teachers create? Does the teacher own it or their employer? David.
Yeah, I think that's not, I think there's no straightforward answer to that question. So that probably gets into the kind of details that we don't want to do too much on this call. There is, you know, the general rule is that the person who creates content is the copyright holder, but there's a large exception to that called the work for hire doctrine, which means that when you create certain content in the course of your job, it may well be the employer who owns the content. So where exactly teacher created lessons fall within that, I'm not sure. I think there's actually been some controversy over that question. I'm not certain if it's been settled.
Okay, hi, I'm Damon, and I've just been tracking some questions in the chats and questions that we've got here for Q&A, and I want to make sure that we get to them. One of the questions that we've had in a couple of different variations of is, where do I, if I'm a teacher educator, where do I get grade specific teaching materials that are going to help me target my copyright teaching to primary, secondary, that sort of thing, middle school?
So all of that is available on our website. If you go to the website, divided into sections based on the different school levels. So you can find the materials there that are appropriate for you. Our Alludo game is really aimed at giving teachers the general background they need in copyright to be comfortable teaching it at whatever level they happen to be. But the resources targeted to their particular school level are all there, organized on our website by school level.
Thank you, David. I've got another one here. Are there any concepts within copyright that you feel educational leaders don't appreciate about teaching it, like the value that I guess the general question is, educators are really busy. Everybody wants us to teach everything. What are some of the things that you feel that would help them make the case that we need to make time for teaching about copyright?
Well, I can take a first crack at that and anyone else can jump in. I mean, I think that, I think a lot of people who aren't familiar with copyright might be surprised at how much of both students and teachers' daily activities involve copyright in some way. How much of what we're doing online, either as consumers or creators, involve copyright and raise questions about whether you're doing things properly under copyright. I think just the sheer prevalence of behavior that implicates copyright is probably underestimated by most.
And just to piggyback on that, so one of our state ambassadors actually has incorporated our lessons into her materials when she teaches podcasting. So there's natural segues of activities that students are doing, whether it's a report or a research paper that they're going to do a video, or maybe write a song or do some kind of evidence of learning. Our lessons are, like Jen said, the entire lesson is there, so you could do a full lesson, but also our videos are short, so they're maybe 5 minutes or less. So you could introduce that video to students and then have future discussion on what those videos bring up in terms of what they can do in order to create their activities.
You know, one other thing I'd point to in regards to this question, I think, is just the prevalence of social media. It used to be the case that if you did a project for school, chances are that project would just stay within the four walls of your classroom. And when you're in a pure classroom context, there's pretty wide latitude for fair use. You probably don't have to worry about copyright that much because you're going to be in fair use territory. But guess what? In the modern world, when people create stuff, they also now decide they're going to put it up on their blog or share it via social media. They're all distributing things much more broadly than ever before, and that raises the level of copyright issues to a whole new level.
Yeah, and it's also become such an important media literacy skill as students go out into the workforce, whether they're a content creator or they're working for a company, they need to understand copyright because it can come back to bite them big time. So it's an important skill that we teach students moving forward.
So building on your point, David, that it's no longer just the four walls, it's out there, blogs, social media, all that sort of stuff. now, do you run into educators that run into the opposite problem, which is not that I don't have time, it's that it's overwhelming and I'm afraid. I'm afraid to what are the consequences if I teach it wrong? What if my district teaches it wrong? Do I have to worry about legal repercussions of that from a school district perspective or from a teacher's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a reasonable thing for teachers to wonder, and it's part of why we set up the curriculum the way we did, where a lot of it is really plug and play. And so, a teacher may feel, gosh, fair use involves a 4-factor legal test. That sounds kind of complicated. I'm not sure how far down that path I want to go. Well, we've got the videos that, it's as well as slides that really walk through it all step by step. So, the teacher themselves, they don't have to really get into the legal nitty gritty. They can allow the videos to do that, and they can focus on a little higher level in their classroom discussions.
Does an educator need to worry about, hey, my teacher told me that I could do this, and that's so do I have any worries about that sort of behavior from kids? I mean, not from the kids, obviously, but from legal ramifications of them saying that.
I see Jen raising her hand on that one.
Yeah,
Jen.
go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, so I would like to feed off of that. When I first started using these lessons, I had honestly very minimal knowledge of copyright, fair use. I'm a little embarrassed to say that I didn't even know there was a difference between plagiarism and Creative Commons and fair use. And I thought copyright was just copyright. And then I did the professional development on the Copywriting Creativity, which was on the Canvas. And then I just finished the Alludo, and I've been working with Copywriting Creativity for a couple months now. And one of the best things about these resources is that when you click on that PDF, no matter what grade level, there is a script. And I followed that script from word to word, because the same as you, I was worried, what if I tell them something wrong? What if I say something that's not okay? And that's why I truly love these resources, because everything is there for you. It doesn't matter if you know just a little bit about it or if you know a lot about it. And now, as I've been learning more and more and more, I find myself going off of that script. You kind of become a veteran teacher. Your first year, you sort of do stick with the script and you don't really think outside the box. And so again, I truly would recommend, if you are an educator or someone in your building who is not comfortable, print out the PDF and have it in front of you and just read right off of it. And if your students have questions, I mean, again, we are there for guidance. We have office hours. The Alludo game is definitely going to be a game changer, so that, again, you can gain that knowledge of learning about copyright.
Well, that was a great answer. Thank you. It's always that fear, right? The fear of doing something wrong, taking a chance. It can be really hard, especially when you see a lot of media stories, maybe not currently, but there used to be a lot of stories about lawsuits, the Recording Industry of America, and all that sort of stuff, and just could be a little bit overwhelming. So thank you for that. I'm going to turn it back. We've got 5 minutes left. I'm going to turn it back to Aaron, but I do want to call out a couple of things. Just in the chat window, the question earlier about resources for various age groups, Jen put in 3 links to the Copywriting Creativity site that has links for elementary, middle, and high school. It's all great stuff there. And then we'll share all of these links. I'm assuming with Aaron that we'll be sharing these links, sharing links to Alludo, more information on Copywriting Creativity, more information on Alludo, that sort of thing, with all the people that were on the call. So you can keep the questions coming. We'll answer them after this, and might be coming out in an email or something to you. But please do. And if they're specific to the Copywriting Creativity folks, happy to funnel and connect you on that. And obviously we're happy to answer questions about Alludo as well. So thank you very much. And Aaron, please take it away.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we will make sure to send this recording out. We're happy to answer any follow-up questions. Just go ahead and email me. My information is in the registration email. And we can connect you with whoever you need and answer questions on our end, certainly about Alludo. how you can use it in your district and how you can use particularly the CNC course. And just closing remarks, I just want to say thank you again to everybody. And Jen, your perspective is great, as sort of being in the field, and I really appreciate that. Dana, I wanted to give you just a little bit more chance, just maybe in closing your thoughts. You have a really great overview of this, and while we didn't have a time slot necessarily, your questions or your answers to some questions were fantastic. So I wanted to just give you a minute to say a few things.
Thank you. So I'll just piggyback on, I used to teach digital citizenship when I was at Ventura County Office of Ed, and I specifically avoided copyright because one, I thought I didn't understand it. It was too confusing and there were no resources to share with teachers. And it was really exciting to be able to partner with I Keep Safe and now Internet Education Foundation to make these resources available to teachers and students. They are so positive, and I'm retired now, but it's actually taken me out of retirement, because when teachers see the resources and start using them, they're just flabbergasted. They're just they're short, to the point, positive, easily understood by students. They don't talk down to students. So it's really a great curriculum. And I think having our professional development, like Jen said, going through either the Canvas course or now the Alludo course, it really reinforces a teacher's understanding of copyright. And as you teach the lessons, you become more familiar and more comfortable. So I say just go for it. Again, everything's Creative Commons licensed. So we just ask for attribution. And should you want to use our entire slide deck and lesson PDF, go for it. Or if you have an existing lesson and you just want to pull a video or maybe a slide to add it to an existing lesson you have, you're able to do that as well. So we tried to make it really user-friendly for teachers, and I think we've succeeded at that.
Thank you so much. Was there any last questions that anybody had? I know that Jen's replying to one right now. Jen, do you want to just reply to everybody on that last question?
Yes, the question was, is there copyright office hours where when there's a copyright question in a district, there's somewhere a teacher or librarian can turn to get some advice, not legal advice, which of course, for full disclosure, we do not give out legal advice during our office hours. We will, talk you through, well, what do you think, and have an open conversation. And so our office hours can be located on our website. I can go ahead and put that link in there. We do have office hours. Right now they were weekly, and then we'll be talking about adding office hours. I assume Dana will be talking about office hours in the future.
All right, I think that concludes the webinar. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you to all of our panelists. And again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We are happy to answer them. And again, you will get a follow-up with the recording. So thank you all, and we'll see you again hopefully next time on our next webinar.